Friends, I am really excited to be here, weather notwithstanding. I flew in from Texas where it is 75 degrees and sunny, but this is good too, also really nice. I am originally from outside DC. Anybody from outside DC? The DC area? Yeah, I'm from Vienna, and the Orange Line, also home of the world's first railroad battle, which I don't know what that is. But I imagine two trains with lances just like going at each other. I don't think it would accomplish anything, but it would be dramatic to watch. So I grew up there. I went to Notre Dame. Any Irish fans? Yeah! Everybody used to be an Irish fan, and then 2012 just sucked all the life out of you, and you never want to watch football ever again. No? Is that just me? Okay. Yeah, it's been a rough couple of decades if you're a Notre Dame fan. But I got 2 degrees in theology from Notre Dame. And then I went and taught middle school and high school religion for 3 years in Georgia, then for 2 years in Kansas. About 5.5 years ago, I felt like God was calling me to follow him in a more literal way. So I quit my job, packed everything I owned into the trunk of my car, and started driving. And for the last 5.5 years, I have been homeless and unemployed. I live out of my car, so literally everything I own, traveled around the country with me. I've been to 50 states and 20 countries and driven about 180,000 miles in the last 5.5 years, all so I can be here with you guys today. I know, you're like the pinnacle of my life, basically. And I speak in churches and schools and youth groups, random people on the street. So I've got a sign I hold up that says free prayers, another one that says you are loved. And I was holding up the free prayers sign one time in Seattle, and this guy was up to me and he was like, free prayers? Like really free? And I was like, no, man, I'm gonna pray with you and then I'm gonna sit your wallet. Like, yeah, totally free. And he was like, that is awesome. I am on my way to take a really important drug test. Will you pray for me? I will pray for you. I don't know if I'm praying about no drug test, but I will pray for you. So, you meet all kinds of different people when you travel around the world living in strangers' houses. So today I'm excited to be here. We're going to pray, and then I'm going to speak at the end. We're going to have questions, and I'm going to say, what questions do you have? You guys are going to go, and it's so awkward. Okay, so first step, close your mouth, don't drool. Okay, second step, ask a question, right? I know you want to know where I shower, right? I know you want to know how I pay for gas. My life is ridiculous. It's okay. You can ask about me. You can also ask about literally anything the Catholic Church believes, teaches, proclaims to be revealed by God, okay? So this is your fair warning that we're going to theoretically have time for questions. Basically, anytime that I warn people there's going to be time for questions, and they'll give up. But we're going to try, right? So let's go ahead and begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father, we praise you for the love that you pour down on us without ceasing. We thank you, Lord, that in looking at us, you don't see our sin, but you see your beloved, your sons and daughters. And we pray, Father, that you would send your Holy Spirit down upon us this morning. I ask you, Spirit, to speak through me, that I would only speak truth and the truth that these hearts long to hear. Spirit, I pray that you would open the hearts of every person in this room, that we would know who you are and who we are in you. Jesus, we ask you for the courage to follow. Mother Mary, we ask you to pray for us, that like you, we would give our lives over with reckless abandon to the Father, in service to the Son, inspired by the Holy Spirit. We ask this through your intercessions. We pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, the Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Saint Edmund Campion, pray for us. Blessed Infante, pray for us. Saint Mary of Egypt, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So I think sometimes I come in and I'm like, hey, I'm a hobo missionary, and people are like, ooh, I don't want to be like you. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. One time a woman actually came up to me afterwards, and she was British, and she said to me, excuse me, I don't want to be like you. And I was like, oh, that's okay. Like, God made us all different. And she's like, no, I don't want to be like you in any way. And I was like, well, like, we just all have different personalities. And she said, no, I mean your personality. I just don't want to be like you at all. And I was like, I don't know where this is going, or if you're just here to be mean. Like, I don't know what we're doing right now. But you know what? I get it. Like, I'm alive. And I live a ridiculous life, and you shouldn't probably want to be a hobo, And if you do, like, go to college and then go to grad school, and then we can deal with that. But I think sometimes people are like, oh, you must have been like, rah, Jesus, yeah, from the time you were little. I'm like, oh, that's not my life. No, I wasn't born captain of Team Catholic. My dad did want to be a monk for a long time, ended up getting married, and they had a family, and we went to church on Sundays, which was great, and I went to my first confession. I would say I made my first confession, but I lied in the confessional to the priest, which just turns out not okay. You can't do that, I went in and I was like, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession. I broke the cup and blamed it on my sister, and that's it. I'm sure he was like, wow, you got a lot of attitude for a 7-year-old, okay. And it wasn't true. Like, my sister broke the cup. I literally said nothing that was true in the whole confession. And I walked out afterwards and was like, oh, good thing you only have to do that once in a lifetime, am I right? Turns out, no, that's not what that is. But I knew that you weren't supposed to lie in the confession, right? I wasn't stupid. And I didn't care. Because I thought, like, what's the point anyway? What does any of this matter? And so I turned my back on God. Lying confessional is an epic fail, right? Catholic for epic fail is mortal sin. So I was in a state of mortal sin from at least the age of 7, which is classy. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever been in a persistent state of mortal sin. I'm sure not. Like, we're just all really holy here. But maybe you read that in a book. That first one is terrifying. Because you're like, I'm going to get caught and sent to prison and struck by lightning or something. And then you don't. And you're like, oh, okay. So the next time, well, it's not so scary, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And the time after that, and the time after that, and before you know it, that's just kind of who you are. You've become the kind of person who defines yourself by these choices that you make. I talked to a guy one time, he said, I haven't gone 24 hours without being drunk in 6 months. And I haven't gone a week without being drunk since the 7th grade. He said, but I'm not an alcoholic. I said, boy, there's more alcohol in your blood than there is blood. Are you stupid? Like, you have a problem. But he said he wasn't 12 years old and like, I want to be a drunk. He made one bad choice. And he never turned back. And that was my story. I made one bad choice, and I never turned back. I mean, don't get too excited, right? I was like 10 years old going to private school in the suburbs. This isn't the part where I'm like, I used to do math. Right? These are my notes. No, like, I wasn't involved in anything too terrifying, but I just kept walking away from God. And when you pile sin on top of sin on top of sin, before long you can't see God the other side of it. So by the time I was 11, I was an atheist. I said, there is no God. Anyone who believes in God is an idiot. That's just my arrogance, okay? That's not like what it is to be an atheist. I just have a problem. And here's the thing, if you're an atheist, I respect that, if you have read a book. But I think a lot of us, we gamble a whole lot on something we saw on Tumblr one day. And it's just maybe unwise, right? For me, I hadn't done any research, I hadn't read any books, I just had this idea that to be a Christian, you had to be an idiot, because I had never heard of Thomas Aquinas or like the entire history of the intellectual tradition, which was sound okay, there's no big deal. And so I decided there is no God. Anyone who believes in God is an idiot. And here's the thing, the world will tell you atheism is a sweet deal. Because if there's no God, there's no sin. There's no guilt, there's no shame, only there's still guilt. And there's still shame. There's just no mercy. There's no forgiveness. Whatever you've done, you got to carry that. Because can't nobody take that off of you. And if we're following it to its logical conclusion, at a certain point, after living this life of regret, you die and that's it. You just dissolve into a bunch of your component elements. I mean, it doesn't sound like a sweet deal to me. And that wasn't my experience either of freedom. See, I was desperate for my life to mean something. And it didn't. And I remember waking up in the morning, 12, 13 years old, thinking, what's the point? Why bother getting out of bed? Because it's not like today is going to be any different from yesterday. It's not like suddenly today I'm not going to mess up, I'm not going to hurt people. I'm never going to be enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be smart enough. I'm never going to be successful enough. I'm never going to be pretty enough. Is this it? Is this all there is? And I came to the conclusion that people just aren't happy. I'm like, this isn't good. I was real angsty for 12, but I've always been advanced in this. And I sat down and I thought, well, I guess you got two choices, right? You either resign yourself to the fact that life isn't good and you just push through, or you choose not to keep going. And I decided that I was going to keep going, that I was just going to be okay with the fact that I didn't mean anything. And I don't think I'm the only one who's felt this. I don't think I'm the only one who's gotten to the point where I say, you know what? No matter how hard I try, it's never going to be enough. No matter what I do, my parents aren't going to be proud of me, or my parents aren't going to get back together, or I'm not going to find somebody who chooses me, right? We start looking to this world, though, like something has got to satisfy, right? And we look to booze and drugs and success and friends and love, good things from them. But y'all know this world is never going to satisfy. Because you were made for more than this world. You know this. I mean, look at the lives of celebrities. These people have everything the world has to offer them. They got money, they got fame, they can do what they want, when they want, and they got scars on their wrists and a bottle of pills in their hand, because this world will never satisfy. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves. Because we can keep tricking ourselves like, oh, well, you know, I'm just going to I'm going to be valedictorian, or I'm going to start on the football team, or I'm going to get into this amazing college, and we keep fighting for that next thing, and it's just never enough. And so that's where I was, 13, midlife crisis. And I got confirmed because, you know, that's what you do. I'm sure you guys get confirmed because you want to be saints. But I got confirmed because my parents dropped me off at confirmation class every week and said, you can go inside and you can wait outside in the rain. And I picked inside. And I went on my confirmation retreat. I spent the whole weekend rolling my eyes. I mean, to be fair, it was youth ministry in the 90s. Was anybody involved in youth ministry in the 90s? It was not cool. It was not. It was a lot of Enya with a little bit of the Matrix thrown in, like it was honest. But I just spent the whole time being like, you people are stupid. You can't tell me how to live my life. We went through this examination of conscience. I was like, please. It's my life. It's my body. It's my choice. I'm going to do what I want when I want. You don't own me. And then one by one, every girl in my small group started going to confession. And I was like, if I don't go to confession, no one will be my friend. Which is not a thing. Right? No one's like, I'm sorry, we're only friends with people who have availed themselves of sacramental absolution, so if you don't want to go to confession, you can sit over there, because on Wednesdays we get a confession. Right? Like Mean Girls Catholic style. That's not what's happening. Nobody cared about the fate of my immortal soul. I got up and walked to that confessional purely out of imaginary peer pressure. there because this is not my life. And I walked into that confessional and realized, in confession, you're not talking to a priest. In confession, you're kneeling at the foot of the cross, giving Jesus Christ the hammer that you used to nail him there. And he reaches out his pierced hands and says, I still love you. I still want you. And that's a pretty intense realization. I was a 13-year-old girl, so I started to cry a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like the ugliest, snottiest, drooliest cry you have ever seen. I was literally crying so hard, the priest had to interrupt me to change the subject so that I could calm down enough to breathe. Right? God bless Father Mark Reddy. I was like, and he was like, how's your little brother doing? And I was like, he's awkward. And then I gossiped about my little brother at the confessional, which is super classy. And he's like, and what was that you said about stealing? And I was like, I stole the things. And it was awkward, and it was ugly, and it was embarrassing, and it was the most beautiful moment of my life. Because in that moment, God reached out to me and said, I am never going to stop loving you. And I remember walking out of the confessional and standing underneath the Star of Virginia sky, dehydrated from all the fluids I had lost out of my face, thinking, well, shoot. I probably didn't say shoot at the time. Conversion takes a minute, right? If Jesus is God, that changes everything. If Jesus is God, that changes everything. That doesn't just change my Sunday morning, that changes my Saturday night. Amen? Doesn't just change the way I talk to God, it changes the way I talk to people, the way I act, the way I dress. It changes everything. Not because suddenly I've got this list of rules I need to follow, because, hey, newsflash, Christianity is not primarily a list of rules. Now, the rules matter, right? Please don't text your parents. There's a missionary today. She says, I do what I want. That is not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that it's not like check all the right boxes, say enough rosaries, and you're good to go. And it's not a system of dogmas. Now, I've got 2 degrees in the dogmas. I'm a fan. But it's not like if you can spell consubstantial and use it in a sentence, you get yourself a purgatory. Christianity is a relationship. It's the truth that before there was time, God loved you, was planning for you. The color of your hair and the shape of your eyes. That billions of years ago, before he flicked the universe into existence, he set it up to bring you joy so that he could love you. This God sent prophets crying out his love for us. Y'all read this book? Yeah, some of it. I mean, it's a good one, right? The good book. #1 best-selling book since the beginning of selling books, so it's got that going for it, which is nice. I think sometimes, we encounter scripture and we're like, that's a lot of stuff that I don't care about, right? And we don't realize that this is the story of a passionate love affair between God and your soul. God who said, though the mountains leave their place and the hills be shaken, my love will never leave you. Though my covenant of peace be shaken, said the Lord who has mercy on you, oh, afflicted one. Storm-battered and unconsoled, Isaiah 54:10-11, he says, child, you made a hot mess, but I will never stop loving you. Imagine the Rocky Mountains pick themselves up, march themselves to the middle of the country, and plop down Kansas just to break things up a little bit. He says that is less ridiculous than to imagine I could stop loving you. It'll never happen. Isaiah 49, verse 15-16, he says, can a mother forget her infant? Be without tenderness for the child of her womb. Even should she forget, I will never forget you. See, upon the palms of my hands, I have written your name. And 700 years before the death of Christ, God prophesied that he would tattoo your name on his pierced hands. Look, I don't know your life. Some of you might hear that verse, can a mother forget her infant? And be like, yeah, you know what? She can. But the Father in heaven says, my love will never leave you. Psalms chapter 4, he says, you are completely beautiful, my beloved, and there is no blemish in you. He says there is nothing wrong with you. Now, this is the God who has intimate knowledge of all of your pores and everything that's going on in your face, right? The God who knows how you talk to your mother. The God who saw what you did last weekend. The God who sees what you look at on the internet. Father will be available for confession at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Church. This God looks at you and he says, there is nothing wrong with you. Because you are not your sin. You are not your abuse. You are not your abortion. You aren't your parents' bank account. You aren't your GPA. You aren't how many Instagram followers you have. You aren't how many people want to be with you or how many people want to be you. You are loved. Not you used to be loved until. Or you could be loved, and you are loved, full stop. That's who you are. You are a totally accepted, deeply loved child of God. That's the message of the cross. And this God who said this again and again to Israel, who cried out again and again through the prophets, and then watched them turn their backs on him, he never quit. And finally, in the fullness of time, he sent his son. And the God of the universe became a zygote for you. A little 2, 4, 8-celled organism, helpless and pathetic in his mother's womb for you. Now, he could have come down and been jacked, right? Walked into Caesar's palace and be like, Caesar, you can bow down, you have a Messiah right here. Caesar has a problem, Sharknado! What now? Right? Like, Jesus can Sharknado whoever he wants to Sharknado. I'm just saying, like, maybe for the Gospels, the sequel. Revelations, not Sharknado. He could have, but he knew that you would be weak and poor. So he became weak and poor for you, and he was born in a stable and laid in a feed trough. We like to sanitize Christmas with like sweet, shiny baby Jesus and like the cows and the oxen just mooing at Jesus. We don't remember what a stable smells like. And he was good with it for you. And he dealt with the indignity of being human. And he was ridiculed and ignored. And finally he was rejected, betrayed, stripped naked, beaten to a pulp, and nailed to a cross to suffocate to death for you. Not for y'all, but for you. And if every person in this world, Mother Teresa, and you were the only jerk, he would still have come for you. Died with joy for you, and then he rose, literally went to hell and back, because he would rather die than live without you. That is what you're worth. That's what the gospel is. It's not some clever mythology. It's not some list of behaviors you have to conform to. It's the truth that you're worth something. That your life means something, that you don't have to resign yourself to mediocrity. I think most of us, we think, okay, yeah, like, that's cool, I get that. Like, maybe you believe this Jesus thing. Awesome, I'm with you on that one. So I'm a good Catholic. I show up at church most Sundays, which is great. That's a great start. You know what's required of you as a Catholic is 57 hours a year. That is 0.65% of your life. You spend more time than that in the bathroom. When we give that to God, we call ourselves good. Now tell me, is there anything in your life you care about that you give less than 1% to? Who's an athlete in here? If y'all worked out 0.65% of your life, would you call yourself an athlete? I mean, you could try, you'd be doing it from a bench. What about musicians? Anyone a musician? You practice your instrument 0.65% of your life. Are you going to be a musician? No, you're going to be pathetic. That's what you're going to be. When things matter to us, we put time into them. Every one of us gives more than 0.65% of our lives to social media, I guarantee it. But we give God 0.65% of our lives and we call it good. And it's a start, but I think God wants more from you because I think He wants more for you. Here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend that being a Christian is always easy. I wear a crucified man around my neck. I am 34 years old, celibate, homeless, and unemployed. I am fully aware that sometimes God asks things. I'm telling you it's good. That it's worth it. Because there is joy and there is glory that this world can never offer. I don't do what I do because I like attention. I do like attention. I mean, it's a perk, but not enough to be homeless for it. I do what I do because I remember what it was not to know. I remember the emptiness. I remember the anguish. I remember the certainty that I was never going to be happy. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. See, Pope Benedict said, the world offers you comfort. You were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. And this is a choice that you can make right now. You can decide today, I'm going to live like this is true. I remember being about y'all's age. I was 16, and I was walking through this church, and I saw a stained glass window of a 14-year-old kid. I turned to the priest I was with. I said, who's that kid? He said, oh, that's St. Dominic's statue. I said, cool, what do you do? He said, nothing. I mean, I've done nothing. Can I ever say nothing? Oh. Nothing. He was the youngest non-martyr ever canonized at the time. He had no visions, no apparitions, worked no miracles. He was a regular kid who lived a regular life, died a regular death at 14, and people raced to his coffin to make relics of their rosaries. What have you been doing with your life? I'm just saying. Step up your game. Because the invitation of the cross is an invitation to know who you are, to know whose you are, and to live in that freedom. And sometimes we think like, okay, but if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to really be a Christian, it means I have to be a monk, right? No, it doesn't. I mean, you got to pray about it, John. You don't have to be a nun, ladies, but you got to consider it. But the invitation to holiness is the Lord saying to you, look, you, as you are, with your past and your flaws and your desires, you are called to holiness. This is one thing I love about being a Catholic, and believe me, I could write a book 500 chapters long called One Thing I Love About Being a Catholic. When you look at the lives of the saints, every kind of person is in there. We've got saints who were so bad that I would maybe need to get a waiver to tell you their stories, but you can Google St. Mary of Egypt. She made some bad choices, made all the bad choices with partners, whether willing or unwilling. But she was converted, and she was saved, and she's a saint. Blessed Bartolo Longo was a satanic high priest, and he's going to be a saint. Saint Longinus literally nailed Jesus Christ to the cross with his hands. He was the centurion who crucified Jesus. He's a saint. Saint Olga of Kiev was a mass murderer. I mean, really, the bar is real low. Okay, if you can't stumble over that bar, you're just not asking for the grace. We've had other saints who never did anything wrong ever in their entire lives, and that's great for them, but I don't really connect. We've got saints who were so brilliant. St. Thomas Aquinas would dictate 4 different treatises simultaneously to 4 different scribes. So we'd give a sentence on the Eucharist, and a sentence on angels, and a sentence on Aristotle, and a sentence on just war theory, and a sentence on the Eucharist, and a sentence on angels, and a sentence on Aristotle, and a sentence on just war theory. I can really keep track of those 4 things that I just listed. But he's got the whole essay going in his head. But then we've got saints who were so dumb, they couldn't even learn the Hail Mary. St. Agatha Kim. She was a Korean woman, she was a pagan, she decided she wanted to be Christian. They were like, great, well, let's learn the creed. And she was like, oh, I only know Jesus and Mary. And they were like, well, how about the Our Father? And she was like, oh, we only know Jesus and Mary. And they were like, okay, Hail Mary. She was like, I only know Jesus and Mary. And they were like, okay, you are too dumb to be baptized, which is not a thing, okay? They were a little bit confused about the theology of baptism, but she got captured by the government. It was illegal to be a Christian. And they tortured her, and they said, tell us where the leaders of the Christians are. She said, I only know Jesus and Mary. And they said, deny your Christian faith. She said, I only know Jesus and Mary. And her great shame became her crowning glory. We have saints who are sweet and meek and mild and prayed for 16 hours a day. And we have saints who are loud and ridiculous. And that's a good thing, too, because, friends, that made me loud and ridiculous. And it likes me this way. We have saints who are athletes, and saints who are actors, and saints who are business people, and saints who are loaded, and saints who are really poor. We have all these different kinds of saints. The invitation is for you to say, Lord, if you are real, I want to follow. And so that's the homework I'm going to give y'all. You're like, I almost liked you. For the next 2 weeks, that's from now through Holy Week, through Easter, into the act of Easter, very exciting. I want you to spend 10 minutes a day in silent prayer. When I say silent, I mean like no music, no books, no Instagram, right? Selfie of me praying. Hashtag so holy right now, hashtag selfie, hashtag no those are like cute. No. No Bible, no rosary, nothing. You've got this chapel that is open 24 hours a day. Stop in there for 10 minutes and just say, God, if you're there, I want to know you. Say, Lord, who are you and who am I? And what do you want from me? Who are you and who am I? And what do you want from me? Some of y'all already know what he's asking. A relationship that needs to end, somebody you need to forgive, a bad habit you need to kick. And here's the thing, we have freedom. You can tell him no. But I want you to say it like this. I want you to say, Jesus, I love alcohol more than I love you. Jesus, I love anger more than I love you. Jesus, I love my girlfriend more than I love you. And if you can say that every day for 2 weeks, you've got more going on than we can handle in the 45-minute assembly. But some of you, I think the Lord is going to speak to you, and I think he's going to say, I think he's going to tell you what it is that he loves you. And I think you're going to realize that he doesn't take anything away. He gives freedom, and he gives joy. There's a lot the Lord has asked me to give up for him, but I tell you what, friends, I am happier than I could ever have been without him. And I want to ask you to give him a shot. To take a chance. 2 weeks, 10 minutes a day. It's 140 minutes, is nothing. Give him that shot. And say, Lord, if you're real, I want to know you, I want to love you, I want to serve you. And I think for some of you, God's going to start writing now. I'll tell you what, We got to take our mess to him first, right? Confession, 11 o'clock tomorrow at church. You've got monks around all the time. I'm sure they would be delighted to hear your confession. Give him all of that ugliness and let him give you joy. Because he's worth it. What questions you got for me?
You started traveling 5.5 years ago. How old were you?
That is an excellent way of finding out how old I am without asking me how old I am. Well done. No, it's true. Because everybody wants to know that, but it's bad manners to ask a lady how old you are. So good job. I was 28, so I'm 34 now. My best friend is Blessed Peter Kibe. I should preface that. My best saint friend is Blessed Peter Kibe. This summer I was talking to this girl and I was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow is my best friend's feast day. And she was like, oh, that's amazing. Are you going to see her? And I was like, oh no, he's dead. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, he's been dead for 500 years. And she was like, I was like, let me start that again. My favorite saint's feast day is tomorrow. So Blessed Peter Kibe, he's so great. How far back do I have to go? Okay, who knows when the gospel got to Asia? Earlier. Hey, where was Jesus born? Bethlehem. What continent is Israel in? Asia. Hey, turns out gospel is not a European phenomenon. But if we're talking like further east than that, it wasn't until 52 that St. Thomas the Apostle brought the gospel to India. So, took him a minute. The gospel first got way out to East Asia, to China in the 7th century, but it didn't get to Japan until 1549. Francis Xavier brought the gospel to Japan. And he converted 300,000 people in the first 50 years that there were Christians there. One of them was the family of Blessed Peter Kibe. So Peter Kibe was born in 1587 to a Christian Japanese samurai family, because he wasn't cool enough to begin with, right? So he's born a samurai. He goes to these Jesuit schools, decides he wants to be a Jesuit. He asks them, will you accept me into the Jesuit order? And they were like, oh, we're not sure if you're committed enough. And he was like, okay. So he makes a private vow that he will be ordained a Jesuit priest. And he goes back and he's like, can I just volunteer for a little while? And they're like, okay. So he volunteers for 8 years. And then the emperor, in 1614, the emperor kicks all Westerners out of Japan. And so they're packing their stuff, they're getting ready to go, and Kibe was like, oh, let me get my bags. And they're like, oh, yeah, see, you don't have to leave because you're not Japanese, or because you're Japanese. And he was like, oh, is there someone else here who's going to ordain me? No? Cool, I'll get my bags. So he sails with them to Portuguese Macau, which is in China, it's right next to Hong Kong. Then he goes to the seminary there, and he's like, will you guys ordain me? And they're like, yeah, we don't really ordain Japanese people. And he was like, oh, that's mad racist. So he keeps going. He sails to Goa, which is in southwest India. And he gets in seminary there, which was established for the purpose of ordaining native clergy. And they're like, yeah, we don't ordain native clergy. He was like, cool. Now, if it's me, I would be like, you know what? I'm done. I'll start my own church. Watch me. But he's a saint, and I'm a joke. So he travels to Rome, okay? He's like, I'll go to Rome. I'll get someone there to ordain me. But I guess he was done with boats because he decided he would go overland. So he walks from India all the way to the Holy Land. He figures, well, I'm on this side of the planet, I might as well stop in Jerusalem, right? Becomes the first Japanese person ever to enter Jerusalem, makes his way to Rome. He's walked 3,700 miles. He goes and he's like, will you ordain me? And they're like, bro, we literally have no idea who you are. And he was like, yes. So they started asking him questions. They're like, oh, you're legit. They ordained him 6 months later. The next week, they ordained him a priest. And he's like, awesome, I'm going back to Japan. And they're like, no. Yeah, sorry, bad news. They're killing Christians in Japan. And he was like, yeah. And they're like, no. No, they're hanging them upside down in a pit of human remains and excrement. They're wrapping them in straw mats and setting them on fire. They're hanging them on crosses at the edge of the ocean and letting the tide drown them. They're killing Christians. And he said, send me back. All right. So he gets on a boat. It takes him 14 months to get to go. If it's me, it takes me 14 months. I would just be like, I like curry. I live here now. This is great, right? But Kibe was on a mission. He sails from Goa to Portuguese Macau, tries to get a boat, they won't send him. Spends 2 years there trying to get a boat. But they're like, look, we're not sending Christians to Japan, they'll send warships back. So he sails to Thailand. And he gets on a boat, it's chased by pirates back into the harbor, and then they're like, oh yeah, sorry, we don't send Christians, so just tell us you're not a Christian and we'll send you. And he was like, that is literally the opposite of what I'm trying to do, thank you. 2 years trying to get a boat, finally he sails to the Philippines, right? And he's like, come on Philippines, y'all know how to Catholic, right? Like, let's do this. They won't send him either. He's like, okay, I've got a hammer, I will build a boat. So he builds a ship, right? I mean, he's sailing from Manila to Japan, that's 1,000 miles in the Pacific Ocean. And they inspect the ship. Once it's built, they discover it's been eaten by termites. He said, stick your fingers in the holes for getting on the boat. So he gets on with his crew. He sails. They're within sight of Japan. Typhoon. The boat is smashed to smithereens. They're shipwrecked on this island. And Kibe comes too, and he's like, are we in Japan? And they're like, no, you're in this island off the coast. And he said, oh, thank God. And they're like, ooh, you might have a concussion. We're in not Japan. That's where we are, not Japan. And he said, no, we're on the island that St. Francis Xavier sailed to Japan from. Can I borrow a fishing boat? It took him 14 years from when he left Europe till he finally made it to Japan. It took him 24 years from when he first decided he wanted to be a priest in Japan until he finally made it back, a Jesuit priest in Japan, all the time knowing that he was on the way to torture and certain death. And for 9 years, he lived like an animal in the wilderness, and he would travel only under cover of darkness, and people would hike for days through the mountains during monsoon season so that they could receive the sacraments. We can't walk across to the church. But these people would risk their lives, and finally he was betrayed by a Christian. He was sold out, and he was captured. Has anybody read She Saw the Windows, Silence? Or did you see the Scorsese film that came out a year ago? So 2 of the characters in that book and in that film are accurate historical characters. One is Liam Neeson's character. So Kibe, one day the door opens, and in walks a Portuguese man who had been a Jesuit but had denied the faith and started working for the Japanese to try to destroy the faith of Christians. And he said, Father Kibe, can you really know that Jesus is God? I mean, maybe Jesus is God in Portugal, but not in Japan. He's trying to destroy Kibe's faith, and Kibe looks at him and says, come with me. And first he quit. And he says, recant your apostasy, let me hear your confession, and then come and die with me. And first of this, it was my paper, right? So he sends him in away, the master torturer of all of Japan. This guy had tortured thousands of Christians, broken them, killed others. There are 2 other priests captured with Kibe. They both denied the faith on the first day. Kibe, 10 days in, he's not showing any sign of breaking. I mean, come on. He's the most determined man on the face of the planet, right? This guy who they said, we're not sure you're committed enough, and he's like, that's cool, I'll just walk to the other side of planet Earth, no big deal. 10 days they tortured him. He never stopped singing praise to God. And everybody else who was being tortured, they didn't give up the faith either because they saw his example. And so finally, they cut him down, they built a fire on his stomach, and they pulled out his insides to kill him. And they called him the man who will never say, I give up. That's my best singer. That guy didn't quit. Right? I have decided to invent a new adjective, Kibe. It means BA, but you're allowed to say it in church. Right? So I need y'all to help me out. I've told people this like all over the world, like Japan, Korea, Alaska, Hawaii, everywhere. Kibe. All right? So if someone's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the 7 a.m. mass, right? I'd be like, oh, that's Kibe. Love that. Yeah. So that was a very long answer to your very short question, but isn't he awesome? I love him. Yes?
I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about the lifestyle and
Yeah.
where do you guys shower?
Just where do I shower? Just when it rains real hard, like on the side of the road. That's not real. 7th graders are always like, okay. No. So I don't sleep in my car. I sleep in strangers' houses. I don't know that that's better. But no one's tried to serial kill me yet. And my backup plan is, if someone tries to serial kill me, I'm just going to yell, I love Jesus when that happens, and then I'm a murderer. That's not really how homeless, I've never once had to get a hotel room. Including when I was homeless in Istanbul while there was rioting in the streets and they were under martial law. And God just sent me a Franciscan friar who found me some nuns to stay with. Because all the nuns they have in Turkey, but God's God in Turkey just as much as he is here. So I have a blog and a podcast. If you Google Hobo for Christ, you'll find me. I've got a blog and a podcast and a blog and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but I'm really bad at Twitter. I mostly use it to complain to customer service things and get stuff for free, so it's not super interesting to follow. But people follow me on the internet, and they usually will reach out to me and they'll invite me to come speak, or they'll message me and say, hey, if you're ever in this area, you're welcome to come to our house. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I don't know where I'm spending the night, and I just go on my public to all the world Facebook page and say, hey everybody, I need a place to stay on I-40 somewhere between St. Louis and Nashville. Can anybody help me out? And several people offer, and eventually I find someplace. It's ridiculous. I don't recommend it.
How did you know, really know, that this was God's call in your life?
I guess I don't really know. I'm hoping. Otherwise, in what ways? I really do think that it's possible I'm going to go to my judgment and Jesus is going to look at me and be like, baby, you thought I wanted you to be a hobo? And I'll be like, he's like, that's not a thing, right? People don't do that. And I'll be like, oh, and he's going to say, we could try. Really, you went hard. So my best advice for discernment is not so much to seek God's will, but to seek God. I think that if we make a commitment to spending time in silent prayer every day, then we're going to find ourselves in God's will. And I had been teaching for 5 years, and I loved teaching, creepy loved teaching, right? Sunday nights, I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost Monday. Nobody feels that way, right? That's not normal to feel that way about Mondays. And I'm naturally, you may have noticed, a little bit intense. And really an angry person. So if you were inside my head at the grocery store, you'd be like, wow, this girl should probably be locked up. It's why are you in the middle of the aisle? Pick a side of the aisle. It's not that hard, right? Right, but you feel me. Okay, but in the classroom in 4.5 years, I was angry 2 times, which is a miracle, right, teachers? You feel me? Y'all are awesome, I'm sure, and fantastic, but life is just hard, right? And I knew that if I had only been angry 2 times in 4.5 years, it was a miraculous grace. The trouble is that I taught for 5 years. In that last semester, the grace was withdrawn. And I would say 3 times a week I would have to stop talking and turn around and rest my head on the board and breathe deeply so as not to Chuck Norris some kid in the face. Now, I'm not saying if things get hard, run, but I'm saying if things are supernaturally hard, pay attention. If everything external is the same and the internal has changed, listen to it, right? Take that to prayer. And so I prayed about leaving and I felt a lot of peace. I prayed about staying, I felt a lot of unrest. So I pulled out my Excel spreadsheet because I'm super type A, not at all bohemian. I do not like not having a plan. I like spreadsheets. And so I pull out my spreadsheet with all the different schools that I want to teach at and their dress code and their average SAT and how many saints went there. It's ridiculous. And then I was like, I guess I should pray about not teaching, and I felt this resounding peace, which is something that doesn't make a lot of sense if you're not already spending time in silence seeking the Lord. And I was like, okay, well, what does that even mean? So I went to a priest friend of mine, and I was like, Father, what am I supposed to do? This is all I've ever wanted to do. It's all I've ever trained for. He said, well, you're good at public speaking. You've been wanting to do more of that. I was like, great, yeah. You can't just quit life and be a public speaker, Father. That's not a career plan. And I took it to prayer, and I just felt like God was saying, tell me why not. And I couldn't come up with a reason not to be homeless and unemployed, which is objectively a bad idea. Now, if you're naturally a bum on the couch and you think being homeless and unemployed is a good idea, it's not. Get a job. But I'm real type A, graduated summa cum laude from Notre Dame when I was 20 years old. I kind of like to perform and achieve and accomplish and embarrass everybody with how awesome I am. That would be great for me, for real. And I was sitting there yeah, I should definitely just live on people's couches. I should definitely have no plan and no income and go to my high school reunion and tell people that I'm a bum. That's a great idea. And it honestly felt like the right thing. And I think that if you find yourself really drawn to something that you wouldn't naturally be inclined to, again, you've got to listen to that within reason, right? If you come to me and you're like, I don't know, I'm not normally into convicts, but like, oh, no, don't do that, convict. But if you're like, all I've ever wanted is to be in Florida and somehow going to college in Montana feels like the right thing, well, maybe give it a shot. And I just felt a lot of peace in this absolutely unreasonable move. I thought I was going to be for 2 months. So apparently I'm not great on discerning timing. But I think if the Lord had been like, just be homeless for 5 years, I would have been like, and no, what's plan B? So yeah, it's worked out.
Do you ever like go home and see your family for like holidays, or is everybody else like on the road?
Yeah, no, they're definitely not on the road. My sister has 6 kids, her oldest is 8. So it's like the most fun thing that's ever happened ever. Yeah, there were twins in there, so you know, it's only every 2 years, so yeah, and my brother has 3 little girls, so I try and get back to see the nieces and nephews as much as I can.
How do you get like food and gas money and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I don't charge anything when I speak. People invite me in to come speak, and they say, what's your fee? And I say, I don't have one, and they say, but really? And I say, but really? And they say, but really? And I'm like, this is gonna get awkward, like you really don't have to pay me. I would say maybe 75% of the time they give me money. Sometimes they give me ridiculous amounts of money. Sometimes random strangers hand me cash. I was talking to the guy who does my taxes, and I was like, do I need to report just random people giving me cash? And he was like, you mean paying you in cash? And I was like, no, like just a person I meet on the street who hands me cash. And he was like, how is this your life? And I was like, let me tell you about Jesus. The issue has never been where to get more money. The issue has always been how to get rid of the money that people won't stop giving me. Which is a good problem to have. I also don't have a lot of bills, right? Cell phone, health insurance, car insurance, gas. Like, once you take rent out of the equation, it's not so bad.
One more.
More question?
Good.
How much longer you got in the
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm actually technically on sabbatical right now. So I'm in Austin, living in a place. It's not my place. I'm like squatting, but they know I'm there, so it's okay. And I like sleep when I want to sleep, and I eat what I want to eat, and I don't make small talk for 18 hours a day. It's fantastic. I don't know if this sabbatical is a transition back into being a person who lives a place, which would be really delightful. Or if it's just a break so that I can catch my breath, so that I can keep going. People always ask, like, are you going to be a hobo for the rest of your life? I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't be 75 years old and sleeping on people's couches. Like, no, I really, really hope not. Maybe if I die young. Which sounds pessimistic unless you're like really excited to go home and see Jesus. Yeah, so I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I don't really make plans because I find that every time I make a plan, God laughs and laughs and laughs and laughs and something terrible happens. I mean, like, you know, ultimately wonderful, but something different happens instead. So I am going to be around until tomorrow afternoon. I would be delighted to hang out with anybody. If you want to grab lunch, or you just want to sit and talk about your life, or if you want to grill me hardcore on all the things you don't believe in that the church teaches, or you know, like have feelings or pray together, or if you need somebody to coach you through confession and I can help you get ready for confession, that would be super great. But yeah, I allotted extra time to hang out here so that I could spend time with you guys. So please do come find me if you want to chat. Thanks, friends.